Darren Fletcher will manage Manchester United's next couple of games, or even to the end of the season, depending on how things go and if he gets an interim manager. So let's do a short video breaking down what Man United's starting 11 could look like versus Burnley and when everyone's back from AFCON and fit. Now, the double pivot, I'm joking. I don't think we're going to see Jack or Tyler Fletcher in the starting 11, jokes aside. But we're going to talk about what the starting 11 could look like, what his tactics are, how he uses the under 18s and more. I want to make this like a short 5-6 minute video, and then I'm going to do like a live stream discussing all the news, all the manager situation later. But one thing we know about Darren Fletcher is he's very big on the United DNA, fast attacks. He wants counter-attacking goals, fast attacks. He likes a back four. And Darren Fletcher also has a good defensive record, which is something that Ruben Amorim did not have. Now, Darren Fletcher's under-18 players were a lot better than most other under-18 players. Man United's players aren't a lot better than many Premier League players. So it's, managing the under-18s, managing the first team is quite a jump. But Darren Fletcher has been very successful with the under-18s, but he does have some great talented players that are a lot more probably technically gifted than the players we have. So in today's video, I'm going to break down what Fletcher ball looks like, explain a little bit about how Darren Fletcher plays, and I'm going to show you 2 or 3 different ways he could play at Manchester United depending on who is fit. So let's dive into it. Darren Fletcher has his own style, but he very much uses a back four. He can use variations of back four, whether it's 4-2-3-1, 4-1-4-1, 4-3-3, fullbacks inverting, 4-4-2. He's definitely more tactically adaptable than Ruben Amorim he has shown. And rather than it being possession-heavy slow football, it's more aggressive, vertical and fast, which probably suits the Man United players more. Now, I think it will probably be more of a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2. I think if he had the players, he would probably do a 4-3-3. It's fast attacks, it's direct transitions, it's attacking the box quickly, and it does have elements of the old United style to it. He has a few modern elements, like a false 9 structure. JJ Gabriel isn't exactly a number 9. He's more of a number 9 that drops deep into the pockets, receives the ball to feed, which suits Matheus Cunha, which suits Joshua Zirkzee, and I think Matheus Cunha could work well in that number 9 role. The system is definitely on passing the ball forward, having runners, having midfielders coming forward, and there's definitely more elements of the United DNA in Darren Fletcher's system than Ruben Amorim's. Does that mean that Darren Fletcher is going to come in and turn things around because he's got more United DNA than Ruben Amorim? Absolutely not. Darren Fletcher has no first-team managerial experience. I don't know if we're going to get better or worse under Darren Fletcher, but he's here until we get the guy in that we want. And, we're just talking about how he plays. His midfield structure, he likes a deep playing 6 who can play expansive passes. We do not have that. Maino is probably the best player at being able to do that. We know that Maino's obviously better as an 8. So maybe when Maino's fit, he comes in to do that. I think Martinez and Aiden Heaven have the passing capabilities to do that. Casemiro is more of a destroyer. Agati is probably better as an 8 and more of a destroyer. We know how bad he is on the ball at times. Agati definitely plays better when he plays with Casemiro because he can play further up and have that license. But, we're looking at really technically, he could bring in Jimmy Thwaites from the academy if he was to bring someone in from the academy to be in that 6th role. I think Maino and Fit could drop deep and be in that role. But ultimately, I think he'd probably just go with Casemiro for experience, and when De Ligt is back, maybe play one of Heaven or Martinez in there with Maino ahead, because Maino can drop deep and build up and act as the second 6, and you're realistically going to play Bruno in that higher role because he is our best player. He might play Bruno deeper, have Mount as the 6, and keep Maino as the 6 and put Mount in, because Mount has been in good form and Mount should be back fit soon. He may keep Bruno deeper like Amorim did, but realistically, he's probably going to play Bruno as a 10, but he could play Mount there, he could play Cunha there. This is the big problem Man United have. We sold all our wingers. We didn't bring any wingers because we were backing Ruben Amorim. And I think this is why Jason Wilcox really went for Semenyo in January, because he was like, crap, if we sack Ruben Amorim and we go back to a 4-3-3, we don't have a left winger. After Semenyo, you look at left wingers, and Jai maybe? You're probably looking at bringing Marcus Rashford back if we're being realistic about a left wing option, which I know a lot of fans wouldn't be happy with. And to be honest, I don't think Rashford's headspace would be ready to go back. I think it would probably not be the best idea, as much as I like Rashford. So I think you probably have Mbeumo left wing, Amad right wing, or the other way round. And I think Cunha would probably be the striker because he would drop deep. Sesko could play there. You could play Mbeumo as the number 9 and have Cunha on the left if he has a really wide overlapping left back. But I'm thinking of the way that Fletcher plays, probably that. So what's going to change on the Fletcher? It's more about transitions, vertical passing, less sideways football, box runners, chaos, creating chances. That's what it's about. Now, I think due to the lack of players available, he'll probably do a 4-2-4. Apparently, Bruno is somehow rushing to be back. I bet Bruno isn't even fit. He's just desperate to play, rushing to be back. I think Bruno right 10, Cunha left 10, because we don't have wingers, Sesko and Xerxes up top, and a guy like Casemiro pivot, because these are like the only players we have fit, bar Dorgu. But Bruno could rush himself back, which would be great, but also not great if he rushes himself back and gets injured. So if I was to say what he'd probably do versus Burnley, I'm just going to say this because of the players he has. But if I was to say what I think he would do longer term, I think it would be something like this. I actually think he could have Leach or Heaven in midfield instead of Casemiro because of their ability on the ball. Or he uses Maino to do the sort of on-the-ball stuff and Casemiro to do the off-the-ball stuff. I think it could be Casemiro. I think it could be Leacher. I think it could be Heaven. I think Yoro could go back in that centre-back role. I think Mazraoui would probably eventually overtake Delo because I think he's the better of the two. But there's so many variations of what he could do. But I think it would ultimately be a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2. If it was a 4-4-2, I think you'd see a Maino Casemiro pivot probably, though, with Bruno maybe being one of the nines in a 4-4-2 and turning into a second striker, so it's more of a 4-1-4-1 with Ahmad and Mbeumo probably as the wingers. But the problem is Cunha's an inside forward and Mbeumo's an inside forward. Sesko's obviously a central player. Xerxes is obviously a central player. And Mbeumo and Ahmad are the only real wingers in the squad, and Mbeumo is more of an inside winger, and Ahmad is probably more of an inside winger. So United definitely lack that out-and-out winger profile, which they probably need to get long-term because they want to go back to a back four. They're going to bring in a manager that plays the back four in the summer, or maybe even in a couple of weeks. So maybe United do something in January. Who knows? Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.